Oh, there I am. Hey, everybody.
Good evening.
How's it going? We're both relaxing on the couch tonight.
Yeah, well, this is the only place I ever sit.
Yeah.
So I guess we probably want to check how the audio is since you're sitting at a different spot. Does everything sound decently balanced?
Yeah. Let me know if it sounds all right.
Well, I like how Godzilla is towering above your head.
Yeah. You can see him back there. I could turn off on the lights up there, but I'm not gonna. I think this is probably okay. Everyone's saying it sounds good.
So
Um,
I was looking at the stream that you're sending me, and uh,
is it stretching it, or is
well,
it?
it's showing a bunch of different demos for games. It was showing Zelda earlier, and now it's showing. Or are you going through that, or is this
No.
automatic?
So I take it you haven't like really played your NES Classic.
Not really. No, I mean barely, just barely.
Saying try is lagging, but is the quality all right, or is it just like easy out of sync?
My audio isn't great. I mean, what?
Yeah, I mean it's showing it like you're looking like a little out of sync, but I mean I don't know if it's
Yeah, I mean it's that's just yeah. It's usually out of sync. I mean, there's nothing
yeah.
anyone can
It
do
looks
about
it
that.
looks like pretty out of sync tonight, but I mean it doesn't really matter. I guess it is what it is. But
I
yeah,
mean,
if
as long as the audio is the sound is fine, you know.
look at we got Phantom Nut. I enabled sponsorships,
Oh,
and
cool.
Phantom Nut
So I
is the
don't.
first ever sponsor.
All
Uh,
right.
he gets to have
Well,
like a
thank
cool
you.
My Life in Gaming logo next to his name.
Nice. Okay. So yeah, I know you told me you activated that, but I don't know a whole lot about what it does.
Yeah, apparently it's like a see
Oh
it,
yeah, look at that. He he didn't even know.
it's
He's like,
like
cool. I did something. You know that logo does look pretty snazzy next to your name. I've got
yeah.
to say.
Just so everyone knows, I'm kind of like struggling with a cough right now. I don't know if it's allergies or something more sinister at work.
Uh oh. Uh oh.
I felt okay, but it's just I've been coughing a lot. So I'm drinking some
Yeah,
tea. I got some cough drops. I'm doing what I can.
I've been a little sniffly. I mean, you know, there are already like 2 RGB episodes where you sound sick, and I'm hoping
But
to
those ones are
not have a.
usually are like some of the most popular ones.
Yeah, I mean, it's what is it
GameCube
GameCube
and Game Boy. I'm
and
sick in.
Game Boy?
Yeah.
Was there another one? I think those were really the only two.
I wouldn't be surprised if it was PlayStation.
I don't think you were sick from PlayStation.
I may have been sick during no, I mean I wasn't during anti-aliasing hack.
Well, hopefully you get over it. I mean, if you don't get over it this week, I mean, I can still wait another week to get your
Right.
materials because I shot my stuff Friday night, and I've been just starting to get through that, getting some music in there. Sort of got our special guest implemented in there.
Yeah. For those who don't know, it's the PS2 episode.
Yes,
And the
I'm
script
working
is
on the
19 pages, meaning it's
yeah.
probably going to be just shorter than the Game Boy episode.
Yeah, so I sure hope you liked the Game Boy episode being an hour long. It seems like most people did like
Yeah.
that being an hour long. I was by no means intending to make this another hour long episode. Trust me, I would not do that intentionally.
Yeah.
Just for the sake of doing it, I would not. It's going to be a struggle. I'm going to be so upset if it's not finished before Super Mario Odyssey. I'll say that much. That's going to be my driving force, right?
Yeah, I think so.
How is the PS2 that long, you ask? Well, several things. For one, component cables and RGB cables, especially RGB cables, are just so much to talk about because of the different resolutions and the look of different resolutions. Um, uh, and sync on green for RGB is kind of a mess unto itself. And the whole PS3 thing ended up being way more interesting than I expected.
Yeah.
So the PS3 section is actually pretty significant. So yeah, it ended up being pretty crazy. It's probably going to be just under an hour. I mean, it's hard to really truly guess right now because I'm still laying out my audio, and hopefully I'll have Corey's, by the end of next week or so, and I'll have a better handle on what the full length is going to be.
Right.
But this is probably going to take 3+ weeks to edit.
Right. So I'm going to be probably cranking out another episode probably the next week and a half. Haven't really decided what it's going to be yet, but I think it's going to be. I have enough VHS tapes to do another episode, and the last one proved to be pretty.
Him sitting behind you.
No, those are. I'm digitizing some tapes for Game Tech US.
Oh, okay.
He just had some stuff he wanted me to put on Blu-ray, upscale and put on Blu-ray for him. But so I'm gonna be doing that. I haven't even started like digitizing everything for it. I had a freelance job, last week, so I was a little busy. But hopefully everything should go okay. But I guess in terms of the Super NES Classic, like people are probably gonna be wondering why isn't that gonna be next? And I think a big reason of it is I know that people like to hear like our specific take on it, but I think that when I saw Digital Foundry's John Linneman's episode on it this morning that he released, it was 30 minutes long, and it basically covered everything that we could possibly have covered.
Yeah, I watched that video this morning. I'm going to drop a link to the article in the chat room.
Well, the article, but I mean, just definitely do it for the video too.
Right. Well, if you scroll down just a little bit, you'll see the video.
Yeah,
it's a great video, and there is, I think, nothing that we would discover and find to talk about that he didn't.
Right.
So I mean, I think that anyone who watches our stuff would get just as much out of his. So right now it's not priority. Who knows? We could change our mind at some point, but I'm going to drop that link in the chat. So
I figured, we do a stream tonight. We could like talk about it, because I think it's improved a bit from the NES Classic. I haven't spent as much time with it as I would have liked to at this point. But I mean, it has like a lot of the same quirks, like the kind of the noise and over the whole screen, but you don't really see it unless you like sharpen everything. But it's definitely there. Mm-hmm. Some of the epilepsy filters and stuff like that. Specifically, you can see it on the bomb for like the Contra 3 bomb.
Yeah, that was the big example John shows in the video. Mm-hmm. I don't know if there's anything else in particular. Why don't you go ahead and start playing something?
Yeah, I'll go ahead. All right, let me.
And the interface seems to be pretty much identical.
Right. I gotta switch over here.
I've got, the Super Famicom version is coming out later, next week or something.
Oh, really? I didn't realize it was not out.
Next week or the next week, yeah. And I managed to get a pre-order for it on Amazon Japan. And I was kind of like, okay, do I really want to keep this? Like, I just got it because I could, because we didn't really know what the stock situation was going to be. And it sounds like basically anyone who put in some.
Everyone's asking for Star Fox 2, so I'll go ahead and start with it. I've beat it on the repro, but I have not played this one too much. I unlocked it, and pretty much that's all I did. Oh, look, I have the CRT filter on. It looks like I don't remember turning it on.
Just looking, you're already passive, but just looking at that menu of games is such a different feeling from looking at the menu of the NES Classic.
Yeah, well, I think we talked about it. Like the lineup on this thing
is insane.
It's. I mean, if they ever did another one, I don't know if they could. It would never be as good. Essentially,
it wouldn't be as good, but I mean, think about it. You could have. You could have Donkey Kong Country 2 and 3. You know, they only have Donkey Kong Country 1.
Yeah.
You know, you could have Chrono Trigger.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, there's definitely a lot of stuff that you could have that are like definitely if some major stuff is missing. But I mean, if they were only going to limit it to 30+1 games, now I think it is 30+1. I think
Wait,
Star
this?
Fox
No, it's 20+1.
20. I thought it was 30 games.
Nope, there's 30 games on the NES.
Really? Oh, okay. Huh. I was a little disappointed it's fewer games, but I guess they can justify by them being games.
Yeah. So I'm playing with the CRT filter on right now. The CRT
it looks
filter
okay
is
on the stream, to tell you the truth. I mean, it looks a little soft. I've been hearing, and I think John said this in his video, that the CRT filter just doesn't have the same satisfying feel.
Yeah, I mean
the version.
The one on the NES was like surprisingly cool, I thought.
It was very posity looking.
Yeah, or even RF, very RF-y, I think. And this one is like
just blurry.
Yeah, always got to be peppy.
And the scan lines are very thin, or very faint, really.
Yeah, I don't think it looks nearly as good.
But it sounds like a big advantage is that the 4:3 aspect ratio mode has been improved pretty significantly.
Right. I mean, the Pixel Perfect is a little skinny, but the normal 4:3, you don't really notice any kind of the shimmering at all.
Yeah, because the pixels in the horizontal axis are interpolated, so if you zoom in really close, you'll see like a little bit of fuzziness sort of on the edge of the pixels, which sort of just smooths it over because that's how it's drawn on a CRT. You know, it's kind of soft on the horizontal axis as it stretches it to the correct aspect.
Right. I barely remember how to play this.
Yeah, so it's kind of like a prototype almost for what became Star Fox Command, which is a game that I feel is very underrated.
And is there no view 1, view 2? Okay, so there is an external. I prefer the third person if I ever have a choice.
Yeah. I can't remember about the first person views and
the original.
Yeah, I can't remember what I preferred to do. But yeah, I really like Star Fox Command. I think a lot of people think it's stupid because it like just adds a bunch of unnecessary elements to the story, but I think it's really cool, like sort of charting your course through the map, sort of getting into these encounters, and there's just a lot of different paths and ways that you can get to the end. I thought that the controls were really good. I actually really liked the stylus controls. Now I don't know how different the finished version of Star Fox 2 is from the ROM that's been on the internet for years. You know, I've sampled it for maybe 10 minutes before.
Right.
And I was not really that impressed. I am excited to see this game truly released.
Right. Yeah, I was never really super impressed by it either. I mean, I have it. It's more of like definitely a novelty than anything.
Oh yeah, I mean it's definitely a landmark sort of event in a way. I feel. I think it's very important that they did this. It's so cool.
Yeah. I mean, I wonder if it stands anywhere in the timeline now, for real. Not that it even matters.
I don't think it really matters because, like, I mean, isn't Star Fox on Wii U, like, isn't that like just another retelling of the story, basically?
Yeah, I mean, they pretty much just tell the same game, the first game, over and over again. Can I get in? Yeah. Okay, so protects. Okay, I'll go after the carrier. So you slowly gotta work your way in. Man, I hope this cough does not like last too long. It almost feels like there's no not real levels in this though. It's more like skirmishes than anything.
Well, Star Fox Command kind of like it's got like these like predetermined sort of set major battles that you go through, but there's also, like, as you encounter these little ships along the path, you get into these small scale battles.
And that's, you know, that's just not super interesting to me.
I mean, the way it played out in Star Fox Command, I thought was interesting. I felt like Command was kind of a more fleshed out version of what this game wanted to be. But I'm definitely interested to play through this myself. We'll see how it goes.
How do you feel that? Do you think this would have been popular if it was released, or do you think it would be considered like really weird and like a disappointing sequel?
It probably would be considered kind of a disappointing sequel, I bet. I mean, there would definitely be its defenders, I'm sure, but because we didn't really get it, it's got this mythical status that it never would have gotten otherwise.
Yeah, I mean, like, I just don't think it would have been nearly as popular. And I don't think that the series would have been as sought after if it was, you know, if this came before 64.
Star Fox 64.
And that's, you know, it's weird for me to say that because, like, I like the original Star Fox more than 64 by a lot.
Well, I think 64, if it came at all, probably would have come much, much later.
Yeah.
I mean, it's possible that this could have killed the series if it didn't sell well.
Yeah. That's true.
Of course, everyone wants to imagine that it wouldn't have, and it was just this huge missed opportunity, but, you know, it's hard to say. Do any of us have a 3DO? Corey wants a 3DO capable of
an FZ10.
The 240. Yeah, capable of the 240p mod.
Yeah, that's eventually I'll get one. I mean, I've been like, I think at Too Many Games, I've been looking at them for a long time. It's always like the same one that's been sitting there, but only certain ones are capable of 240p. Even like the FC10, like only certain versions of that, and you really don't know without opening it up. I saw someone asking like what I'm using the built-in scan lines. This is not passing through any scaler or anything like that.
Yeah, and it actually, I think it looks okay on the stream. Like, I'm not seeing like weird artifacts or you know, awkward scan line spacing or anything, but probably just because they're so faint, really.
Right. With the NES, you could definitely tell. You could definitely tell the look of it.
Yeah.
What they were going for. I do love the controller, though. I mean, it feels...
Yeah, it feels pretty... I'm actually a little bit jealous of the controller you've got. Now, Dick, it comes with 2 controllers, is that right?
Yes.
I'm not positive if
I think they all come with
Japanese version. Okay. I know that the one that I bought does not come with a power supply, but I mean, I assume you can just plug in the same... I mean, it's just USB power, so... I'm a little jealous of your controller though, because I really do like the concave Y and X.
Yeah, that's the thing that excited me the most about it. I have one of the Club Nintendo, the Super Famicom controllers that you could get.
Yeah.
And I don't know, is that getting away? And I use that to play through a whole bunch of games. But now that I have one of these, I will definitely use that for whatever like Wii U games and stuff like that, or whatever, you know.
Would you say that that the controller feels more similar to you know? I've had we've had this discussion before. I don't know how much you've used the kind of controller that I like, or the kind that I talk about.
The later ones, right? I think it doesn't feel like that. It feels like the early ones.
The old
It's not very clicky.
Yeah, I don't know if anyone has really talked about this before, but I've got this theory that later Super Nintendo controllers are better, because
Oh,
I
great!
bought.
It's Star Wolf. It's Leon, at least. They only attack you one at a time.
So I bought a several years ago. I was trying, I had my original 2 Super Nintendo controllers forever and ever and ever and ever, and they weren't that good. And I was, trying to find a replacement, and I just wasn't coming across good replacements. And I finally bought a brand new one that was in. If you all know the box I'm talking about, there's a Super Nintendo controller box that has Mario RPG on it. It's got like the Mario and Yoshi renders from Mario RPG on the box staying next to a Super Nintendo controller. And I bought that, and I'm like, oh yeah, fresh Super Nintendo controller. You just can't beat this. It feels so good. Well, I didn't realize what the difference is. Instead of Super Nintendo, kind of printed on it, it actually has an engraved like Nintendo logo on the controller.
Right, but not Super Nintendo, just like the Nintendo with the
Nintendo with the oval around it.
Right.
And so that's the visual difference. But I'm like, yeah, this feels great. And then I found out later through our friend Game Dave, who grew up with the Super Nintendo Mini, not this Mini, but the the actual Super Nintendo Junior or whatever you call it.
Right.
That's the one he grew up with, and I found out that through him that those systems shipped with that engraved Nintendo controller. And I tried his controller at his house, and it felt like this brand new one that I got. And I had been thinking that mine felt so good because
It felt so
because
good.
it was because it was new. But his still felt good despite being, the controller he used as a child, and for years and years and years was his main controller. So I think they're just better controllers, the engraved Nintendo ones. In fact, I bought a brand new, just because I ran across it at one of your local stores. I ran across just a brand new Super Nintendo controller that I got for a great deal, but it was the printed logo kind.
Yeah.
And it feels great. It really does feel great, but there's sort of a little more of a satisfying click. I don't want to say it's clicky on the engraved one, but it feels less mushy.
Right. Yeah, I feel like this feels like the originals.
Which is a little, I mean, not mushy in a bad way necessarily, but it's mushier.
No, it is, but I prefer that.
Yeah,
I think.
I just felt like the mushy controllers just kind of lost their responsiveness over the years. Like certain directions on my D-pad, just on my original controllers, just don't register that well.
Mm-hmm. Uh-oh. I'm barely paying attention to what's going on here.
Well, that looks like Bolsa from Star Fox 64 in the upper right of the map.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it looks just like it. Well, I noticed that Titania is Titania.
That's not what it is normally?
No, it's there's no A. It's Titania, not Titania.
Oh, huh. I guess I never paid attention to the spelling in the other game. I've always said it as Titania. And the music is very similar. I wonder if the same person who did the music for the original Star Fox do this one.
Oh, so you think the music's pretty good?
Yeah, I mean, I love the soundtrack for
I know you're a huge. I mean, it is a tremendously good soundtrack. It took, since I, was a fan of 64 first. It took a little warming up to this SNES soundtrack, but that level 1 theme is so good. Let's see. Composers are Kazuo Ishikawa and Yumiko Kaneki.
All right, well.
So that Star Fox 2 logo with all the characters and stuff that I've been seeing around the internet, like that's the official artwork because it looks very fan arty.
Well, that's official art now. You mean of them all standing there?
Yeah.
Well, I mean that's the.
Is that new? That must be new artwork they've made for this.
Yes.
It just looks
Definitely.
It looks very fan arty to me.
Yeah, I mean it's hard to say if I feel like it looks like something that would have come out at the same time at the right time.
I don't think it does. Looks a little off to me.
I think the 2 specifically looks like a little off.
Apparently, the composers are different. The original game's composer is Hajime Hirasawa.
Ah, so I mean this is definitely inspired by the original. Like the Titania music is very similar.
Well, they probably use the same sound samples.
Right. And this was like the ROM for this was like dumped like pretty much right away.
Yeah, I mean, I even heard that the hacking stuff, like it looks like it might be pretty similar, maybe. Like
Yeah.
I don't think it's been successfully pulled off yet, to my knowledge.
No, I saw a video today where they got Chrono Trigger on it.
Oh, okay. But I don't know if it's been widely released.
Right. Is that it?
You know, I think it's a bummer that Tetris Attack isn't on. It's probably not on because of the Tetris name.
But that's on the Japanese one, right? The panel.
It's got Panel de Pon. So I'm kind of excited about that just because it's something different, you know?
Right.
You know what I was thinking about yesterday is really surprising that Dragon Quest V isn't on the Japanese one. Isn't that really weird?
Well, I think that they probably. Geez, I just like landed on the core and proceeded to kill myself. All right, let's move on to something else.
Yeah.
All right. So the first thing I played was Mario World.
Sure, why not? I mean, why wouldn't it be Mario World?
It just felt right, I think. But I'm just like looking through the games. I think it's really surprising, and there is a big difference, I think, between the Japanese and the U.S. version, or in the Western versions. Like it's surprising.
In terms,
just in terms of games, I think that the Western version is like way better. Like stuff like Earthbound gets swapped for Fire Emblem.
Yeah, let me double check what. Yeah, I mean Fire Emblem. I mean that's an interesting inclusion.
Yeah.
Let's see. Super NES Classic Edition. Let's see. Exclusive to Western versions is Earthbound. That's really surprising to me that the Earthbound's on the Japanese version. Kirby's Dream Course, which, I mean that
probably the worst game on here.
Yeah, I mean
between that and Super Ghouls and Ghosts, probably the two worst.
Yeah, I mean they're both very good games, but I think they could have easily been replaced by much better games.
Yeah.
Castlevania 4 exclusive to the Western version. That's a bit of a bummer to not.
Wait, what is?
Castlevania 4 is not on the Japanese version.
That's crazy to me. I'm gonna play Mega Man X.
And Super Punch Out is not on the Japanese version, which, you know, I mean that's a great game, but not as iconic as the original. Honestly, I'm sadder about Castlevania 4 not being on the Japanese one than Earthbound.
Yeah, but it's weird that neither one of them are on there. It's surprising to me. All right, someone's asking for people are asking for Contra.
They've got a different version of Street Fighter 2 on the Japanese one, but they do have Mystical Ninja, which is pretty neat, and Panel de Pon, which is neat. I mean, having Fire Emblem on there is pretty darn cool.
Yeah, but not as cool as Earthbound, I don't think.
I mean. The thing is, I mean, you know, since I'm getting the Japanese version, I mean, I couldn't play Earthbound on it anyway. It would have been cool to have, but I mean, I am very surprised. I just don't understand why Dragon Quest V is not. Like, that just seems like a very strange thing. Like, they should have replaced Earthbound with Dragon Quest V. That would have made sense.
Yeah, but I think that, Square had 2 big games between like Final Fantasy and Secret of Mana on there. They probably only had space for the 2, I guess.
I wonder if there's any way to force 3-player mode in Secret of Mana.
I'm sure there is, but it's hard to say. It'd be cool if they sold some sort of
multi-tap.
Yeah.
It would only be good for that game.
One game, yeah.
I'm sure, like, there's got to be a way to do it. Like, I mean, in some sort of hacky way. But, like, what I mean by a hacky way, I feel like there's got to be a way without changing the software. Like, I bet the game it would work if you found a way to make it register 3 controller inputs.
Right. That's a great game. It really is.
Oh, yeah. Remember when we played this on the stream that we participated in at Missouri Game Con?
Right.
And
we had like lag on lag because it was emulated then we were playing it in the OBS window,
which was running at 30 frames per second.
Yeah. We did surprisingly good though, I think.
I know. I think I got to the second overhead level. I was playing on easy though, but still, considering I was, I hadn't played the game in a long time, and considering, the lag on lag,
yeah,
it wasn't bad.
It's so interesting though, the Super NES is like such a, and this is coming from someone who was like a Sega kid for the longest time, growing up. Like the Super NES, like really just like made such a huge impact, and basically almost every game on here. The only games on here that I don't have are Punch Out and there's one more that I don't have. I can't think of what it was though. It's Punch Out and what?
Well, I'm just saying you should get Punch Out.
Yeah, I know. Punch Out and
Kirby Dream Course.
No, I have Kirby's Dream Course, but there's something else that I don't have. When I look at the list, I'll be able to tell you.
You've got, don't you have the Japanese version of Superstar?
I got the US version for real cheap recently. I got 5 bombs. But I mean, I can, for most of the games on this system that I have, I can pretty much place myself. I can remember specifically like so many random details around
the circumstances.
Yeah.
Well, that sounds fun. Let me look at the list and see what stories I can tell about any number of games on here. Contra 3, I really can't tell a story about how I got it. I know that was something that I just grabbed at Funkoland because I was definitely starting to become a fan of the Contra series, but it was years before I actually seriously tried to beat it. Donkey Kong Country, I mean, I got that the same day I got my Super Nintendo for Christmas in '94. I heard about it from my neighbor across the street, which is, I think I may have told the story where earlier this year I randomly, this neighbor that I knew from when I lived in Delaware. I graduated from high school with him, and I ran into him in a hotel, in the breakfast area at a hotel in Amarillo, Texas this summer. Like, what? Just
out of nowhere, right? He's just like,
so random,
Mark?
so random. But anyway,
he was like, "Oh, hi, Mark."
Just bizarre. But yeah, I mean, I remember that just seemed like the big game that everyone was talking about, and I knew I wanted the Super Nintendo bundle that had Mario World and All Stars in it. It was separate cartridges, but they were both in the same system bundle. And I knew I wanted Mario Kart because that was the game that sold me on the system anyway. But then I was like, but I want something new. So I also asked for Donkey Kong Country, and I got it. And
It was totally
I
worth
just
it.
remember one of my first reactions to it being the piranha fish in the water level looked literally real. And you know what? To this day, I think they look literally real. You should play Donkey Kong Country after this and see how literally real
Literally.
the fish in the underwater level look. It's crazy.
All right.
So one thing that John noticed is I think is super interesting is that Mode 7 stuff renders it like double the resolution.
Right.
Like it's not beholden to the SNES pixel grid.
So I just
which is kind of looking like it might be creating a few weird artifacts at certain angles in this
and that's
level.
something that that we probably wouldn't have noticed in terms of like.
Yeah, well, I mean, maybe like
Well, me
I feel
probably. Like you might.
I feel like I would have noticed it like on the Final Fantasy the Final Fantasy VI Overworld.
Oh yeah. That's true.
All right, well, going back down this list. Oh, okay. Next on the list is Final Fantasy VI, which I guess my story with that is a friend was really into it. He rented it all the time, and I would watch him play, but I thought it was like the boringest looking thing. But
See,
later,
I could talk about like Final Fantasy VI.
It's like one of your favorite like.
It's just like my friend Chris. We were best friends. Like we were both the only ones in the RPGs that we knew, and we were so excited for Final Fantasy VI. I remember it came out. It was homecoming weekend of my 10th grade year of high school, and I played to like the World of Ruin by the end of that weekend.
Yeah, I mean, I did get into Final Fantasy later, and then wanted to revisit it after I played 7. Or let me think, maybe I did play through 6. Where I tried 7 and Chrono Trigger, and then I may have played through 6 before I played through the entirety of 7. I'm always fuzzy on remembering that, but it was just again one of those games I got at Funko Land, and I'm very glad that I got it at that time because the RPGs were a lot cheaper then. I mean, it was still a little expensive. It was probably like $30 or something, but I don't even know what it's worth now. It's probably at least 50, 60, but I don't think it's insane in terms of the cost.
Oh yeah. The game, how much it cost when it came out?
No, how much it costs now. But like, I got it used at Funko Land for I would guess $30-some.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
But that would have been late '90s.
Right. I had it pre-ordered. Well, I mean, I had Final Fantasy pre-ordered like for so long that summer, so I was like waiting for it to. I was so used to paying, like $70, $80 for the games like that at the time.
Now, were you like really into Final Fantasy 3, or I mean not 3, 2/4? Like, were you really
yeah,
that? Or was there just something about 6 that looked really appealing to you that got you so excited?
No. I mean, I loved 2. I didn't play 2 until like well after it was out, though. I think even Secret of Mana might have been out by then. I got it because I just finished Lunar the Silver Star. I was like, I was so into it, and I needed another RPG to play. And I was like, I haven't really played any of the things on the Super NES. I'm gonna give it a shot. And I played it, finished it in a week. Which, at a time, when you didn't have any kind of, I was like very anti-hint book, and, obviously the internet was not a thing that was easily accessible. Like I posted a little bit on Prodigy, BBS, like at my friend's house, but I didn't have a computer at home at all. But I immediately loved it.
Yeah, I mean, Final Fantasy 4...
For a long time, it was like my favorite. And even like well after 3 came out, it was still my favorite. I think that I realized that when 3 came out, that the 3 was my favorite. Probably, gosh, it might have been like as recent as like 10 years ago.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, for me, I mean, obviously it's not part of the list, but for my Final Fantasy 2/4 story was, again, same friend. He, used to rent all the time, and I thought it was boring. But like, there were certain scenes from that game that just stood out so vividly in my mind, like Palom and Porum, turning to stone and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Like that scene is like, I feel like the most iconic scene in the game. Like that just stays with you,
See, my favorite part is when you get the big whale.
And we'll see. I hadn't seen that part.
I see.
Part yet. So, like, one year for Christmas, like, there wasn't anything like this was like toward the end of, the N64, and or the last several years, and there wasn't anything I really wanted for Christmas, or I'd already bought. The games that I would have probably wanted. And so I'm like, you know what? I'm going to just give my parents a retro list that they can just go to. Of course, it wasn't that retro then, but it was still relatively retro.
But that's cool, though. It's cool that you thought about it, because a lot of people would be like, never even considered doing that.
Yeah, and that was, I remember that very fondly, like just thinking how cool it was, because I could just give my parents a list of games and expect that they would probably be able to get most of them at FuncoLand with no trouble. Like, that was just such a good time. Like, I can't gush enough about how awesome FuncoLand was. The only game that they weren't able to get on that list was Bionic Commando. And the guy at FuncoLand recommended Commando instead. Which was not
same
very
series,
good.
at least.
Yeah. So they got that. But everything else they got, I remember
looking at the chat.
It was Final Fantasy 2 /4.
Mm-hmm.
Donkey Kong Country 3, which I beat, or I think completed on a rental. So I just didn't buy it, but years later I'm like, man, I really need to own that.
Right.
Let me think, what else? Mega Man 3. There were probably several others, but the big ones I remember were Donkey Kong Country 3, Final Fantasy 4, and Mega Man 3. And then, Commando was kind of the side thing. But yeah, that was such a cool thing. But yeah, Final Fantasy 4 for me, that was I liked it a lot, but it was very basic. And at the time, it was so cool. Games with systems like Final Fantasy 6 and Final Fantasy 7, they kind of they let you make anything out of any character, and that seems so cool. But now, I've really got this soft spot for RPGs that kind of force you to work with the characters that you've got,
Right.
Just sort of, figure out how to work with what you're given.
And I still kind of prefer that style. You don't really see that anymore.
No, here and there maybe, but yeah, I think I would say I possibly prefer that overall, but I would still say Final Fantasy 6 is my favorite, but the nice thing about 6 is every character is unique, but you can still teach them every spell.
Right.
Yeah, before it definitely took a few playthroughs before I liked it, but before I truly appreciated it. I really think of 4 is 4 is just such a tight game. It's just very tightly paced.
Right.
The story is just very well told. It's a very simple story, but it's just very well told, which is incredible considering the time that it came out.
Right. Oh yeah. But I think you got to play Lunar, man.
I know. F-Zero. I don't really have a lot of stories surrounding F-Zero. I played it a little bit at a friend's house. Didn't like it that much. Another one of my friends, he didn't like it either, but he really liked the explosions in it. And then I got it years later. Thought it was okay, but not great. I later sold it and regret it. And within the past year, I got it again. It's an important game to have. Do you have an F-Zero story?
Well, I mean, so I didn't buy my Super Nintendo until Street Fighter 2 came out. So a lot of the stuff I borrowed from my friend Tim, who had one, and that's how I kind of experienced a lot of the early games. Like my memory of like Contra 3 was going to the mall and getting it with him. You know, like after school. You know, we became friends like over the Super Nintendo. You know, like I remember sitting in 7th grade homeroom and like talking to him about it, and he's like, I got Link to the Past, and that was, you know, I tried the first Zelda and thought it was okay. I rented that at the same time as I rented the first Mega Man, so I played very little Zelda during that time, and like I liked 2. I think I had finished 2 because I had like a Game Players magazine that had a walkthrough for it. But nothing like really stuck with me. But then I played Zelda 3 and was just like immediately in love with it. I still think it's like, it's very close to, in my opinion, it's very close to a perfect game.
Yeah, I would agree with that. It's probably the closest thing that has ever existed to a perfect game.
Yeah. Although I'm sure there's a ton of people in the chat that will disagree with that.
Well, I mean, it's pretty amazing. Kirby Superstar. I mean, that's the game I've got a story about. Like that might be my biggest story really to tell of any of these games, which was, I was a huge Kirby fan. Still am. I do own all the Kirby games now. And Kirby Superstar, I was super excited for it. Because I, at the time, had never played a Kirby platformer on a console. For whatever reason, I just kind of skipped over Kirby's Adventure, and I have no idea why. Just no idea why. Like, I was just playing them on Game Boy, and then I was playing like kind of the side games on Super Nintendo, and just totally skipped over Adventure until sometime later. But yeah, so I had it pre-ordered at Toys R Us, and I went to pick it up, and they had a Super Nintendo kiosk, which, that story is in the beginning of the Super Nintendo video to some extent. With with Mario running around inside my eyeball. But yeah, I mean, that was like almost a religious experience, like playing the N64 for the first time the day I went to pick up Kirby Superstar. And I mean, I couldn't believe it. It was just so unlike what I had expected. Like, I couldn't have even
really quick
imagined it or dreamed it.
Is this the best password screen of all time? Like Mega Man X?
I love the music on it.
The music is incredible. The soundtrack of this game is second only to like Mega Man 2.
I mean, but to be honest, I kind of like the Mega Man 7 password screen and password music better, but that's just me. Yeah. Obviously, Mega Man 7 is not as good as this game, but I feel like I like the password screen and the password music in it better. But this is still great. But yeah, so when I got home with Kirby Superstar, there's this opening sort of mode 7 scene where Kirby is flying around on a warp star and he's pre-rendered, and that blew my mind. Like, it looked so ahead of any like mode 7 pre-render stuff I had seen before, and I was like, oh my gosh, that looks just like N64. In my little 12-year-old head, it did. But and I was telling all my friends, like, this scene, that's what N64 looked like, which is not at all true. But that was just this impression it made on me. But yeah, I mean, I think that's the best co-op game on the Super Nintendo. And just one of the best platformers, period. I mean, just such an amazing game. Link to the Past. My story with that game is, I was not a Zelda fan, which is obviously hard for a lot of people to believe, given my namesake, right?
Yeah.
My cousin had Zelda 1 and Zelda 2, and she really liked them, especially Zelda 2. But I could not really see the appeal of the games. Like, Zelda 2 appealed to me just because I kind of liked the look of the world. Like, there was a very appealing sort of look about the game to me. And the game over screen made a big impression. But I just didn't really get into the games. I didn't really get them. And then when so-called Zelda 64 was starting to be shown in magazines, I saw all this hype about it, and I felt really left out because I didn't know that Zelda was like that popular. Like I knew like it was a little bit popular because I'd seen like some like toy figures and stuff, but for the most part I just thought it was a game my cousin liked. Like I didn't know it was that big of a deal. So I'm like, okay, I want to find out like what I'm missing out and why I should be excited about Zelda 64. So I borrowed A Link to the Past from a friend and loved it. But I didn't really know like what to expect, like, you know, and so when I was like going up the castle to fight Aghanim,
You thought that was the end.
The first 3 dungeons, I thought I was working toward the end of the game. I had no clue.
Isn't that incredible?
Clue what was coming. So that was a really cool experience. And then, you know, I beat it borrowing it from my friend. But then I,
you know, on a side note, I don't know if you remember hearing about it, but when we were in Los Angeles doing the Night Trap thing, and our friend Tony Morrow was telling me about how him and his son, I think, who was like 5 or 6, had been playing Breath of the Wild, and they were close to the getting the final power, you know, like in the opening area.
Yeah.
And his son,
of the plateau.
Yeah, and his son is like, I can't believe we're about to beat this game.
No, but like in this like really excited way.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, he's like, we're going to do it, Dad.
we're gonna beat this game.
We're making history.
Yeah, just think about that.
Yeah, like
that'll be something that kid will probably remember for the rest of his life. Is figuring out that's like not the end of Zelda.
Not even close.
No.
Well, I mean, it kind of is. I mean, in theory, you could.
Yes.
That's kind of the cool thing about it. But yeah, so I have this weird memory then years, like maybe it wasn't years later, but sometime later. Like I was like, I should own my own copy of that game, even though I beat my friend's copy.
Mm-hmm.
I just have this memory of like mowing the lawn and just thinking, I need to go to Funkoland and buy that game. Then
did you get it complete?
No. I don't.
I specifically bought mine complete because I didn't own it until like 5 years ago, probably. But I played through it several times, you know.
Yeah, I don't recall Funkoland really having like complete games. They probably did, but I only just remember cartridges. But no, I was just like, I should own that, and so I just went to Funkoland. You know, it was like, I don't know, $20-25.
The thing I always liked about X games over like the regular Mega Mans is you know when the power is like their weakness.
Yes. Next game on the list is Mega Man X. Do you have any particular story to tell?
This game came out. I had a snow day from school.
Oh.
I had it pre-ordered. I decided that it was going to be the first Mega Man game that I bought. Because I didn't have my brother had an NES, but I'd only played Mega Man 1, 2, and 3 through rentals. and I decided that this was gonna be the first one I bought, and
Mm-hmm.
I had it pre-ordered, and it came out on a day that we had a big snowstorm. But school was closed that day, and a friend's parent, like, it gotten nicer throughout the day, and a friend's parents was like, "We're gonna go to the mall."
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, "Can I go with?" And I got Mega Man.
Retro Morgan, I'm almost positive I mostly went to the Kirkwood Funko Land, but I'm almost positive I got Link to the Past and Earthbound at the one on 202. I remember getting Pilot Wings at that one too. I didn't usually go to that one, but I got a few games there.
I'm surprised that Pilot Wings is not on here. I guess. It was definitely like a showpiece for the
I'm
system.
not that huge of a fan of the original Pilot Wings, so it doesn't surprise me that much. But there's definitely way better games on the system. Though it's certainly iconic. I don't really have a Mega Man X story. Pretty sure I just got that Funko Land. I think I saw some of my friends rent it. But I was definitely getting into Mega Man on the NES. Which was not something I did until I got my used NES.
I don't remember so much. I don't remember where a lot of the items are.
Do you have a next on the list is Secret of Mana? You got a Secret of Mana story?
Again, my friend Tim got it for Christmas. Who had played Zelda, but could not get into like the turn-based games. Mm-hmm. But he did like the action ones, and we played it like 3 players. Not all the way through, but slow, like just like a couple of little parts with him.
Mm-hmm.
Specifically, I remember like the Santa Claus part, playing the Santa Claus part with him.
Yeah, Secret of Mana for me, just took me a really long time to get through because I was so, it was such a cool co-op game.
Yeah.
And I was so determined to, play through it co-op, but that's just hard to, coordinate with friends and keep a commitment,
Right.
And I remember when, my same friend who, was kind of into RPGs and I wasn't yet at the time. He moved away but visited a few times, and we went and visited him once. And I remember before he came, I bought a Super Nintendo multi-tap at Funko Land because we wanted to play Secret of Mana, and of course we just didn't have anywhere near enough time to actually finish it. But that was just the thing I really wanted to do. And then I think, we tried it again when we went to his house, and it's just so hard to coordinate 3-player Secret of Mana. I finally, I also tried to beat it on my own, but I really liked co-oping it and just couldn't finish it. I finally did beat it 2-player years later, and then I replayed it 3-player, probably I would say within the past 5 years, I replayed it in 3-player, so I'm really glad I got to have that experience.
Such a good game, great soundtrack. I ended up buying my own copy, complete, at this store. It's like a Western New York place called Zappers.
Mm-hmm.
It is an amazing place. You could pay him 50 cents and play any game you wanted in this store. It was part of Hollywood Video at the location that was in my hometown. But it was like a Western New York / Buffalo, New York chain of places. Mm-hmm. But I bought it there. It's also where I bought my Final Fantasy 2. But I got it complete and played it throughout a summer. And there's an old VHS tape somewhere that my friend would go around to different people's houses throughout the summer. This guy has to be summer of 94 or 95 or so. I don't remember what works on him.
Nick is asking how the sound is. John Linneman said that it's like maybe 3 frames of lag, but it's not as noticeable compared to the NES Mini. I mean, 3 frames of sound delay rather.
Right.
For whatever reason, does it really draw attention in your opinion?
No, I think that it's
improved.
I think so, yeah.
Do you think that, can you tell any weirdness, like does the system struggle at all, or is the sound any weirder in like more complex games like Kirby Superstar or
I've barely
Island?
played Superstar.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I think this is for some reason I thought it was Spark, but it's Spark hurts the armadillo guy. Armored armadillo. No, I think that it's pretty much an improvement across the board for like everything.
Mm-hmm.
I guess like John was saying, there's like a slight delay in the audio, but I mean, I haven't. It's definitely not as noticeable.
Mm-hmm. I'm kind of excited about mine, because I kind of got the thought, well, hey, I can. I can put translated ROMs. If the hack works, I might be able to put some of my own translated ROMs on it. That'll be kind of fun.
Jeez, what's going on with
them? The ones that I dumped and patched myself.
There we go. Yeah.
Do you have a Star Fox story other than you won your local?
Well, I remember
Star
going
Fox
into EB Games
weekend?
And it was like on demo. It was like wasn't out yet. It was a demo version. And I remember I pre-ordered Star Fox and Flashback: The Quest for Identity on the Genesis at the same time.
Yeah,
I may have done that with the money that I got for returning Wonder Boy and Monster World. I don't know if that's accurate or not, but I did because at the time, like EB Games had a return policy. If you didn't like a game, you could return it in 10 days, like no questions asked. So it's like essentially you could like have a rental go on forever until you found something you wanted.
Smoke Monster is saying, I wish someone would cover the differences in audio between SNES and Super Famicom revisions. I love the SHVC launch model audio, and I don't think it gets the attention that it deserves. That's news to me. Did you know that Super Nintendo systems sounded different?
I had no idea.
Yeah, I would love to see someone cover that myself, because I got a 1994 Super Nintendo that is never yellowed, and when I see yellow systems, for one, knowing that they won't be as sharp a video. My 94 unit is not a 1 chip. That was just before they were 1 chips, but it didn't turn yellow. But when I know that other systems they turn yellow and they don't have as sharp a video as 1 chips, I don't really see a lot of compelling reason to get one. But nice. No, I did not know that. The audio I'm not an audiophile though.
Yeah,
so...
I mean neither one of us are. Like I would love to do an episode on the Genesis revisions, but it would be like a total learning experience for me.
Yeah. I mean, Genesis is somewhat noticeable to me, for sure.
Joe Redifer's really good with like audio stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but I have a feeling that Super Nintendo sound quality benefits would be lost on me. Although I did, maybe it was partially a placebo effect, but I did feel like I heard a little bit of a difference in the RCA jack PlayStation unit. It sounded maybe a touch warmer or something, but I'm definitely not I would not have noticed it if I wasn't looking for it. Oh wow, I can see the noise in that dark gray background pretty bad.
It's probably showing up like the compression is probably.
At least it's screwing with the compression. All right, let's see what's next on the list. Star Fox 2, of course. We don't really have any stories for that. Super Ghouls and Ghosts. You got a story with that?
Just renting it and playing it for 15 minutes because it was too hard.
You prefer the Genesis version?
Yes, I love the Genesis version, which I played on the stream and beat on stream, both
Yeah.
loops.
Yeah. That's the only game in the series that I put significant time into is the Super Nintendo one. I really like it. I don't think it's a top tier SNES game or anything, but I could have thought better games to put in this collection. But yeah, I do think it's an iconic Super Nintendo game, and I like it. I feel like you've almost got more of a story for it than I do because.
Wait, for what?
For relay it to my story for Super Ghouls and Ghosts because you always like to point out.
Oh yeah.
It was the last game that I beat in my backlog. Of course, I've got a big backlog now, but at the time, it was the last game in my backlog. I own no unfinished games at a time.
And that was
1 week ago.
Yeah, 1 week before I got married, that happened. You did that stream. Like, you beat that game on a Monday night. And then I got married on that following Saturday. And I just celebrated 9 years with my wife on Wednesday.
Yeah. So yeah, good game. Obviously, I saved it for last because it was, obviously infamously difficult, and I was terrified of it. But I did it.
I'm just going with this until I eventually have to continue or die. I mean, I should probably switch, but I feel like I'm making some good progress here, just for no reason.
You could probably finish this game if you wanted.
No, I'm not gonna do that. But I could. I will do that after I finish. I got 6.
I mean,
I gotta beat 6.
You can always save state it. So
yeah.
Mario Kart. I guess I got a bit of a story for that because not long after I moved to Delaware, again, same friend who was into RPGs. I met him not long after moving to Delaware, and I went to his house and. Previously, I lived in Ohio, and I had a few friends that had Super Nintendos, but
I'll do it.
I wasn't as close to them, and didn't really go. I knew them in school, but I didn't really go to their houses much. My closest friends lived in my neighborhood, and one of them had an NES. And one of them had a Game Boy, and I had an NES and a Game Boy. So I mean, I just didn't have a lot of 16-bit exposure at that time, even though we were well into the 16-bit generation. We're in the early to mid stages of it.
You said Donkey Kong I should play next, right?
Yeah. Let's look at those piranhas.
I got this when it came out that Christmas, and I remember I got this, and my friend Eric, who was still adamantly on the Sega side. He never got a Super NES. He was the one that felt betrayed when I got a Super NES. So I got this, and he got for Christmas. I remember getting this on Christmas Eve, and my mom would have a Christmas Eve party for all the neighbors and stuff, and make dinner and everything, and everyone would come down and hang out. And I got this, and he got James Pond. Not even the second one, which is a lot better, but the first one is the first James Pond is really, really bad. So too bad for him.
But
I think I may have gotten this the same. I got this and Secret of Evermore may have been the same Christmas.
But yeah, next on the list is Mario Kart. So yeah, I was saying, I went to this friend's house, and so this was my first close friend that had a Super Nintendo. I mean, this is '94, so I was I was just not really exposed to 16-bit very heavily, and I remember playing Mario All Stars and Mario World and thinking they were cool, but when we played Mario Kart, it just blew my mind. I mean, that to me was 3D. I really liked Stunt Race FX as well.
Mm-hmm.
But to me, I didn't really see like what was different about Stunt Race. Why was Stunt Race FX so impressive? Like I didn't, to me Mario Kart was also 3D. The polygon thing didn't make it 3D to me.
Right.
It was the perspective, and to me Mario Kart was 3D, and I thought it was amazing. So, I like just after that first visit to that friend's house, it's just like I have to have a Super Nintendo for Christmas. There's like I will die if I don't get a Super Nintendo this Christmas. And so yeah, I got my aunt got me Mario Kart, and I've got that cartridge in that box to this day.
That's cool. I don't really have much of a Mario Kart story. I mean, I got it because I liked F-Zero so much.
Mm-hmm.
Man, I just died twice on that part with this armadillo. On the second level in Donkey Kong Country. Twice I died.
Well, you know that DK stomps them without bouncing off.
I didn't know that. You know a lot about like the nuances of these games.
Oh, I know plenty about these games.
But Mario Kart, like that's another game that fell victim to the return games, the EB games within 10 days. So I returned Mario Kart. And that's the other game that I do not own on this collection.
Oh yeah, you've been trying to get it for years, but you just haven't seen it for a price that you're willing to pay.
Right. I mean, it's more of something I just want to have it to have it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I mean, like I said, that the new Mario Kart Mario Kart 7 and 8 are the first ones that I've like actually spent any significant time with since the first one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I've been along. I've been along with the series ever since. I will say one thing, comparing Mario Kart to F-Zero, even though Mario Kart is a more advanced game, and it is a little disappointing, I think, going back to Mario Kart nowadays, and you have to look at half the screen, whereas you get this nice benefit of the full screen in F-Zero. I always kind of liked that.
Oh, I see somebody in the chat talking about Need for Speed on the 3DO. Yes, it is an amazing game. We used to that's one game I played at Zappers all the time. We would go and then turn around, and when you drive towards the screen, when you hit somebody, you'd like really wreck bad, at least in terms of that game. So that's pretty much all we would ever do, is like play it wrong.
That's the main reason you want a 3DO.
Need for Speed? Well, no, Road Rash.
Road Rash.
Yeah, Road Rash is the best game in the system, probably. Even though I have the PlayStation 1, I guess I have the PlayStation 1 version, but I guess that the 3DO version like runs at a slightly faster frame rate or smoother.
Let's see. Next on the list is Mario RPG. Do you have much of a Mario RPG story?
That was only a rental for me, and I feel like that came out very close to the PlayStation 1 when I got a PlayStation 1.
Yeah, I mean, PlayStation 1 was already out.
Okay, so that would make
sense. I think, right?
That would make sense.
1.
Yeah, I mean,
it was May '96 for Mario RPG.
Okay, so that's why I don't think I spent very much time with it, but I did play it like years later and really loved it.
Yeah, I mean that was. That was definitely a landmark game for me, because I remember looking at, I was a huge Donkey Kong Country fan. I was like all aboard the pre-rendered graphics train.
Mm-hmm.
And even though Mario RPG's pre-rendered graphics are definitely of lower quality, it was still impressive at the time. But I remember, looking at this game that's like using the same technology as Donkey Kong Country, and it's a Mario game, and it's like kind of 3D,
right.
3D looking, and I'm like, wow, that's amazing. And I asked my friend, I said, what the heck does RPG mean? He said, I think that means it's like Final Fantasy. And I'm like, dang it, because I had it at the time. But I was like, I don't care if this is like, Final Fantasy, and I think those games look boring. Like, I have to give it a try because it's a Mario game.
Mm-hmm.
And And you know, so I remember like this store, like it wasn't my usual rental store. Like there was another rental place that that got it in before the other rental store, and you know, I rented it the first day they had available. Like I was like keeping tabs on when they were going to get it in, and you know, it was such a learning experience because like I wasn't really even into Zelda yet. Oh man, you're going to the water level. Let's get ready to see these real piranhas.
Right there? No, those are just regular. I always
Yeah,
loved.
there they are. There they are. The piranhas. Like, don't they look real?
So
they
real.
look totally real. Totally real.
So real. It's
digitized film footage.
You know what I always liked is the clap traps in this, but like their chomping jaws is always like the. I don't know if you probably couldn't hear it when I was doing it, but like they.
Yeah, I can hear it.
The teeth close.
Yeah.
You almost sound like. I should start calling them 8-bit dukes.
But oh, you missed On Guard. Oh well. But yeah, Mario RPG. So I remember like, so when I rented this, you know, the first day it was available in my area. One time, my friend was playing Final Fantasy 3/6, and he had to go to the bathroom, and he was in a battle. Like, it was just a regular battle. And he's like, here, finish the battle for me. I'm like, I don't know how to play this game. He's like, just hit the A button. And I'm like, okay. And so, like, I'm like, okay, I'm hitting the A button. I don't really know what I did, but I was hitting the A button. And so, like,
that's all you needed. That was it.
In the first area of...
It's really fun just hitting a single button over and over again.
And so Bowser's Castle, where you start Mario RPG, I'm like, okay, I have no idea how I'm playing. All I know to do is hit the A button. So I like hit the A button. I'm like, that's all I know how to play these battles. Is all I know how to do is hit the A button. And then when I got to Bowser, you know, I couldn't beat him because you have to target the chain.
Right.
And I was like, okay, what's missing? And then I'm like, I can change the target. It's like got this, you know, gears turning moment.
Yeah.
And you know, and then I couldn't figure out how to proceed because Toad was like, go back to Bowser's Castle and get the princess back. Well, I'd already read like, you know, the basis of the story. You know, you can hit, okay, you know how to get out of the level. Yeah, you don't do anything with Funky except go back to other worlds.
Got it. Does it save after every level?
No, you have to go to Candy, who's the red and white striped tent.
Got it. That's found the big shortcut through that level, right? Somehow I remember that.
So anyway, like, I couldn't figure out how to proceed when Toad was saying go back to Bowser's Castle, because I'd read like the sort of setup in a magazine, which, you know, the story setup is, you know, Bowser kidnaps the princess and Mario tries to save her, but then this big sword falls from the sky, and Bowser, Mario, and the princess all fly in different directions. And so I knew that. And so I'm like, well, she's not in the castle. I know she's not in the castle. But I hadn't even played stuff really like Zelda or like any RPGs really, and I didn't understand. I mean, it's so silly thinking back, but I didn't like understand the concept of event triggers. Like that I had to do something that I knew was incorrect because it was programmed to not proceed until I did that thing. I just didn't understand. It's so funny thinking back, but I mostly played platformers at the time, and maybe like occasionally like puzzle games and other action games. But I didn't understand like story-driven games. Like that was a completely new concept to me. And so it just took me forever, like way longer than it should have. And I finally like went, because when I went to the map, I saw like, from left to right, it was like, okay, here's Bowser's Castle. Now I'm at Mario's house. And then how do I open up the next space? I'm thinking of this in terms of a Mario 3 style map. It's so silly thinking back, but I think I could go back to this other level,
Right.
But ultimately, it was a learning process, but I kind of grasped the game and came to love it, and ran it another time, and I don't think beat it, but got close. I might have finished it. But like I had to have it, and Best Buy was selling it for like $20 less than everywhere else. But it was so rarely in stock.
Right.
But I did manage to get it like several weeks later. It felt like forever, but I remember on the last week of the last day
Does
of
the frog
school,
look different, or am I just misremembering?
I don't think he looks different.
I mean, that'd be a weird thing to change. A lot of work, it seems like.
Yeah, I don't think anything's different. But I remember like the last day of school, like I think I either just got it or I was getting it that day. I remember, and I just remember as I was like hurrying out of school, like I heard I heard someone from my class just shout at me, Mario RPG, because they knew what I was rushing home for. Next is Mario World, which I want to say the first time I played Mario World was when I still lived in Ohio. Not too long before I moved, I went to a friend's house. Like I think my mom, it was really for my mom and my friend's mom to just, I don't know, meet for making crafts or something.
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember, but I remember going down the basement and and my friend wasn't even there, but I just remember playing the Super Nintendo and getting to like finishing like the first two worlds in Mario World. And I remember his sister was so amazed, like she's like, wow, you got really far in this. And but Mario World has always been like not one of my favorite Mario games. Like it's still an amazing game and I love it, but I have a much stronger attachment to the NES ones. I always thought the graphics in Mario World were kind of weird.
I can understand that, but it's probably like out of the first 4 games, it's probably my favorite one.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't own the other ones.
Mm-hmm. I definitely like Mario 3 and 1 better than World, personally. But well, I mean, World is fantastic, but just little things. Generally speaking, I don't like the music as well. To be fair, I don't think as much as I love Mario 3, I actually don't think music is one of its stronger points. It's got some great music, but like the main theme of Mario 3, I don't think is that great. Yeah, actually, now that I think about it, Mario World probably does have better music than.
I'm gonna play Final Fantasy 3.
Why not?
Why not? I think this is something we've discussed a bit, but what has like the best like opening hour is like this or Final Fantasy 9. Like the first like hour and a half of the game.
Yeah.
I mean, both games are extremely strong in that
Fantasy
area.
9. Like Final Fantasy 9's like really Final Fantasy 9's like opening like 1 to 3 hours probably. It's just like pretty insane.
Yeah.
Gosh, now you make me want to play Final Fantasy 9. I haven't really looked at that much of the PlayStation 4 version of Final Fantasy 9. Like I probably should have got that while it had like a small discount. Like,
oh, it doesn't have the discount anymore? I didn't know if
I
there
don't
was
know.
a discount. I would definitely get it too.
I should get it if it still got the discount. Gosh, but yeah, the Final Fantasy 9 probably has like the best like opening in general in the series. Like, I mean,
this is like a close. I mean, see, I think this has a better opening. Like everything from like this part, like the very opening, like the opening credits, which at the time, you know, I never played a game that had opening credits like that, and it just, you know, it made you really feel like you're gonna play something that was like unlike anything that you'd ever played before.
Yeah,
like it was like a story, like it was, you know, like a movie.
Yeah. Oh, don't get me wrong. The opening of this is tremendous, but I do think Final Fantasy 9's in general is like, I feel like there's more immediacy to this, but once Final Fantasy 9 probably takes a little longer to get rolling. But like once the play begins, like it's just like nonstop awesome for like a solid 1 to 2 to 3 hours.
Right.
Like all of Disc 1 in Final Fantasy 9 is pretty insane. But this is my favorite Final Fantasy 6.
Yeah, I mean, just like the opening credits here. The first time I saw this, I mean, I remember sitting in my bedroom and this coming on. I had no idea to expect this. It was just like it was just a magical moment.
Yeah. I mean, this game is something special for sure.
Yeah, and you know, like it stays good from consistently from this part to like when you escape from Figaro Castle. Like that's what I consider like the first like hour.
Yeah.
Like I mean, because it's just like you know, like action beat one after another. You know.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Like it doesn't happen like super often when I play like a game and you still get like goosebumps like you when you used to like I used to, you know, when I'm, you know, like Final Fantasy games would always like trigger like certain scenes. Like we were supposed to do a video on that eventually.
Yeah.
Like our favorite like Final Fantasy like moment.
Yeah, like this is something me and Coury have talked about years and years and years, where we feel like, I don't know if this term really resonates with anyone else, but we like to talk about like Final Fantasy moments, which are those sort of just like climactic scenes that are just like awesome.
Right.
And those are like early on in my experience with the series, like I was always like kind of on the lookout for those like big scenes that just like were such a spectacle.
Right.
You know, Final Fantasy 7 is full of those. 6 is full of those. 8 is full of those. 9 is full of those.
Yeah.
Especially like 6 through 9 are just full of these just like amazing like escape sequences, and you know, or just, you know, these moments that are just like, oh my gosh, I can't believe what just happened, or you're just on the edge of your seat, like these very, you know.
I mean, I think 10 only really had one major one. I mean, I think the end of 10 is kind of one in a way, the final sort of battles.
Subtle. Like the ending is definitely the best part of 10. I think.
Like,
but
the moment that it definitely has that would fit, you know, like into how we, you know, think about these moments. But like when you're going to like when Titus is when the group is rescuing Yuna, and they like are sliding down the anchors, like those
the
like
thing
the cables.
that always like bummed me out about that scene is that there's like not really any lead up to it.
Right.
And you don't do anything. Like there's no like boss battle or anything there. Like it's an awesome scene, but it just feels like there's some context missing.
Right.
Like
so
just
like
very sudden.
Just kind of going back to this game really quick. So I didn't realize, like, I'd only played Final Fantasy 2 at this point. So I didn't realize that like certain musical themes, I didn't realize that they were recurring.
Mm-hmm.
So hearing like the battle, like the victory music,
Yeah.
like blew me away. I was like, and specifically, I remember, like playing it and then leaving and going someplace, coming back later on, and like, after the homecoming parade that night or whatever, and I was just like excited to play it again, and hearing the prelude on the file select screen.
Ah, yeah.
I didn't realize that it was like the theme,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Did you understand that that each game took place in a different world?
Yes.
Or...
Yeah. I mean, I think that was kind of a because I was coming off of like Phantasy Star was
But
all
Phantasy Star does have a continuity.
yes, and like I realized that Final Fantasy didn't have a continuity, and I didn't realize that they had like familiar elements in each one though, and I think that made it easier for me to deal with.
Mm-hmm.
But I am a huge fan of RPGs that have like a continuity like that. Like Lunar is such a good continuity between 1 and 2. I can't wait till you play those.
Yeah,
I think you're gonna absolutely love them.
Yeah, I don't get me wrong. I am excited for sure.
I think they're better than you think that they're gonna be.
I mean, I think they're gonna be pretty good.
Yeah.
All right, so next on the list is Yoshi's Island. Do you have a Yoshi's Island story?
Just playing it on the demo unit at Sears, and
okay.
Also PlayStation was out by then. I'm pretty sure at that point, wasn't it?
Maybe it was October '95 when Yoshi's Island came out.
Okay, well, for some reason, I may not have gotten it because I think that Lunar 2 came out in October of '95. Can you look that up really quick? Because that might have been the same time, because I might have been really, really into that and just didn't even pay attention to Yoshi's Island. It was definitely fall, I want to say, of 95.
Yoshi's Island was October 4th, 95. And what'd you say, Lunar 2?
Yeah, Eternal Blue. I feel like that was right at the same time, because I remember sitting in my Plymouth Horizon. My first car was a Plymouth Horizon.
It came out September 15th, 95.
When is it? September of 95?
September 15th, 95.
So, yeah, I would have been focused on that. What is Brendan Lee asking in there about the 8-bit DOE controllers? I see he's asking it again.
I missed it. Oh, if you have you updated your firmware on 8-bit DOE retro receiver? Will you have plans to get their SNES 30 Pro or SF30 Pro? I don't really have any interest in the Pro ones, with the analog sticks. I like the ones that feel more closer to regular D-pad only retro controllers.
I think I'm gonna get the Pro, the one that has the 2 analog sticks on it. Because I think it might be cool for Switch stuff.
I haven't bought any of the ones that are designed for use on the NES or Super Nintendo Classic Edition, the receivers for those. Mm-hmm. But I really like the design of the one that they made for the Super Nintendo, kind of the dark gray top.
Right.
I think that's pretty cool. The last time I updated my controller firmware was when they made them compatible with the Switch, and I just kind of tested it out. But I haven't updated it recently otherwise. So yeah, my Yoshi's Island story is that I kind of consider it the first game that I was following and anticipating before it came out. How I learned about NES games and Game Boy games up to that point, sometimes a friend had a game, or I saw it on TV, or I saw it in a Sears catalog or a Toys R Us catalog or whatever, or I saw it in the store. That was kind of how I found out about most games back then. But I very vividly remember going to this video kiosk in Toys R Us, which I now know there's very limited information about these online, sadly, but I now know they were operated by a Laserdisc. These kiosks, and they kind of had these overlays that the store could put on it, which had these like pictures of different games that you could watch video previews of, and you push the picture, and it brings up a video of that game. And I remember just seeing this trailer for Yoshi's Island. I loved Yoshi. At the time, like, I might have considered Yoshi my favorite game character, even though, like, or maybe that may have really not happened until I played Yoshi's Island. But I really, like, I thought it was such a cool thing for Yoshi to get. I mean, like, I've always, like, kind of liked second fiddle characters more than, like, the main character. Like, you know, I've always liked Luigi more than Mario. You know, and I think in the same
I gotta
way,
say really quick, like the boss is like dying, and like, it's like such a, you know, when you were like when you're like hanging on the edge, and like barely surviving, hearing that, like, in that flash, and seeing that death animation. There's nothing like it. There's nothing like it.
Oh, Final Fantasy VI has hands down the most satisfying boss stuff, and Final Fantasy VII recreated it pretty well, I would say. I can't remember if 8 does the same.
I don't remember.
I know that 6 and 7 do it. I saw something very similar in another game I played not too long ago. I can't remember what it was. It might have been Grandia 2. I can't remember.
Oh, interesting.
Some game had a very similar sort of thing. Not quite the same, but very similar. But yeah, Yoshi's Island. I remember watching that video, just being blown away. I remember calling Nintendo to find out, like, what the release date was, and back then, like, games kind of came to stores 1 to 2 days after the so-called release date, because it was really a ship date,
right?
And it was just,
it's very rare to even get those, to know those.
Yeah, so, you know, I remember calling Toys R Us on the first day that I believed that they would have the game, and they said yes, and I remember hanging up the phone and just going, yes! I was so excited, and I don't really have a memory of picking it up, or really much of a memory of playing it,
right?
Like, immediately playing it. I mean, I know I did, but you know, the circumstances of anticipating it. You know, it was the first game that I bought, you know, day one. I mean, at least day one in terms of when it came to the store.
Right.
It was the first game that I was like really following, really wanting, and got as soon as possible. So that's I've always thought of that as a landmark game for me. Super Metroid. You got a Super Metroid story?
Yeah, you know, I mean, I didn't like the first Metroid, and I just thought it looked great. I saw a picture of Kraid in EGM, you know, like just huge.
Yeah.
And you know, like that was at a time when like a game being 16 megs was like a big selling point, you know. I feel like it might be more than that. It might be 24 of that game.
I think that's right. I think it is 24.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean that. I remember like that always being like a bit of information, you know, next to reviews and stuff, but I don't remember it being something that impressed me. But
well, I mean, I got it and I immediately loved it. You know, like blew away any expectations I had.
Yeah. I've probably told my story before, which is when my rental store was making room for Dreamcast games. Right. They were selling Super Nintendo games. You know, this was after the Nintendo Power Issue 100, and
this is a good place to see that you see no shimmering. It's right here.
Mm.
Just so you know. Just throwing that out
Yeah, I mean, you know, the characters kind of move at the right speed in this game.
Yeah.
I remember seeing this, you know, Super Metroid was like number like 6 or 8, and I'm like, wow, like I didn't really know anything about this game. I didn't know it was such a big deal. So I definitely put it on my mind. And so when I saw this, like, it's kind of crazy it's in such good condition because, I mean, it was a rental store copy. The box is like perfect, and the card is great aside from the rental store sticker, which I've, you know, is mostly gone, but there's bits of residue on it that I gotta keep for memories. But
what am I playing next? Just so you know. I just throwing that out there.
Why don't you?
Not Super Punch Out because I'm not good at it.
I was almost going to say Super Punch Out. Why don't you play some Kirby Superstar?
All right. I don't have very much experience with this either.
Well, I mean,
we were just talking about the Halcon, right? This is where what I was looking at when I saw the.
You're like, what's Halcon?
Yeah.
It has something to do with like it's like Haruken something, you know, and the Japanese full name of HAL Laboratory. So they just kind of went with that Halcon logo for a while.
So Spring Breeze is kind of a remake of the first game, right?
It's a remake of the first game with one less level and one less boss, basically. It's missing. I mean, and really the levels are shorter. It's like, I mean, you can beat this, you know, before the end of the stream. You definitely need to beat Spring Breeze.
Yeah. Is it easier, you think?
Huh? Probably. I mean, obviously the first game doesn't have powers, and this does.
Right.
It's a heavily condensed version of the original.
That is like such a weird thing about the original, that it doesn't have powers. It wasn't until like later on.
See, I mean, I played the original first. You know, one of my friends had it, and I loved it. So the power thing, like the lack of power, has never really been a problem for me. Like, I like the game anyway. But yeah, that's how I got. But I didn't like it at first. Like, or I didn't get it. Like, it was just I couldn't figure out like where to go, what to do.
Wait, what are we talking? In what?
Super Metroid. Yeah, I'm kind of going back to Super Metroid.
Okay.
And but when I finally gave it another try, years later. Or not years later, probably months later. It just all of a sudden clicked, and I thought it was the most amazing thing. Like, you know, the process of kind of working through that map is kind of the main feature of the gameplay, and I didn't grasp that at the time. I was just confused about where to go and stuff, you know?
Yeah. Let's... I mean, the sense of discovery in that game is like one of the coolest things about it.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Because
it blew me away.
Yeah.
All right, next on the list, Earthbound. Do you have an Earthbound story?
I got Earthbound instead of. I mean, I didn't get Earthbound. Instead, I got Illusion of Gaia, and I just had something else. I feel like it may have come out really close to Breath of Fire, maybe. Like my little helper there, like killed the boss. I didn't even have to do anything. But no, I did not play Earthbound. I came to know like the popularity of Earthbound due to America Online. There was a group of like a fan group. They were like big into Earthbound, and this is like, you know, I want to say I was in college, so it was. But I was probably like 2000 or something. But these people were like really into Earthbound, like even then, you know. And there's this group called the Sharks, which is like, you know, from the game.
Oh, okay.
A group on AOL is like a hidden kind of message board type thing. But I didn't play the game. And then I played.
So when did you
when did I
decide to buy
play
it,
it?
and how much did you have to pay?
I paid $119 for it. Gosh, it was when I had like surgery a couple years ago, and I was like, I had to be on the couch for multiple days straight. So I decided I was gonna play Earthbound. And I thought it was great. You know, the thing I like about it is it has that very thing that a lot of like 16-bit RPGs have, where you feel like I'm trying to think of a good way to explain it. Like the epic moments, you know, like moments of like nice moments in a game and like leading into like something big. It's for some reason it just like always carried like a lot more weight for me. Like the whole like what you do to fight the last boss and stuff like that is like such a cool thing, and it just like not a lot of games really have that same feel for me.
I think I get what you're saying.
Where it's more of a it feels like
the moments
I want to
feel
say
more
it
significant somehow.
Yes, yeah. I mean, like, and like the nice moments just feel like so much nicer. If that, I don't know if that like even makes any sense.
I think it makes sense. Like
you just, I want to say like, I can't explain it, I guess, but I think you know what I mean.
Yeah. Like for me, Earthbound, you know, got for $35 at Funkoland, and I played all the way up to the final boss, and I couldn't figure out how to beat the final boss. And I intended to go right back, but I think the last save point, or at least the last save point I found, was like at the beginning of the whole final boss area. And I was just having a really hard time, didn't know what to do, and I just ended up not beating it, which is a very rare thing for me to like get right at the end of the game. That's happened in a few other instances. That's happened before.
Like the ending there, like it's tough. It took me a lot of tries to beat it.
Yeah, and it's also like you kind of don't necessarily know what to do, you know?
Right.
That also happened for me in Secret of Mana and Suikoden 1, where I like got to the final boss and just kind of put the game aside, not really intentionally, it just kind of happened. But yeah, so then years and years later, you know, when I was like finally like working on my backlog, you know, I just kind of looked up like what was I missing that I didn't understand what to do, and you kind of have to do a little bit of a weird thing to do it, right?
Right.
So I looked that up and I knew what to do, and I just kind of, you know, finished it up from that file, but that didn't really feel like it had a lot of meaning, you know, like.
Yeah, the same thing happened with
an old file and finishing it. It just doesn't have the same impact. So I've always wanted to replay. Since then, I've wanted to replay Earthbound properly.
Yeah, when it's like a long time later. That's what I did with Final Fantasy VIII. I picked up a old save file and finally finished it, and I couldn't even tell you anything about it. Like,
yeah, it just, and I did the same thing with Suikoden 1. You know, I finished it years later, and I've always wanted to replay that too, and just kind of do it properly. It just doesn't feel the same, you know.
Right.
I hate picking up RPGs after so long. But yeah, that's my Earthbound story. I need to replay it. Kirby's Dream Course, I think was the first Super Nintendo game I ever rented.
Really?
Yeah. And I remember like just thinking this was like when I first was playing it, just thinking this was this, you know, fun kind of weird sort of game concept, and then it was like I was like a ways into the game where I was like, oh, it's like golf.
It's a pretty neat game.
Yeah, it's a very good game. Just a weird choice for this collection, but it is a very good game. My other, kind of naive young story related to Kirby's Dream Course was I wanted to get a hole-in-one in every level. I don't know why I wanted to do that. It was just this thing that I thought would be really cool.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I naively called the Nintendo Power helpline with, like, several questions. Like, I asked, like, some, like, not stupid questions. But then I also asked, like, how do you get a hole-in-one in every course in Kirby's Dream Course? And the guy's like, And I don't think, I mean, that was what I asked, but I think what I was really kind of looking for was more of an answer as to whether that was possible. I think that's what I really wanted to know. Is that possible? And I actually, let alone get a hole-in-one every course, I still haven't even gotten a gold medal, or I forget if it goes up to platinum. I haven't gotten that in every level. I mean, it gets pretty hard to get, the good rankings in it. What is the difference between Street Fighter 2 Turbo Hyper Fighting and Super Street Fighter 2 The New Challengers?
4 characters. I mean, I think that the Street Fighter 2 Turbo is a better game, even though it doesn't have the characters that the.
Which one came out first? Oh, I see here. It looks like
yeah, there's a different.
The version we got on the Mini came out before. Out before the Japanese version got.
Right.
It's so weird that they're different versions. I wonder why.
It is, but I think the Turbo is the better game.
Well, maybe the other one's just more popular in Japan.
They changed the music, because in the arcade it was a difference between, like, what is it, like whatever they made CPS 1 and CPS 2.
Mm-hmm.
Like Super was a CPS 2 game, and then like up through just hyper fighting was CPS 1. So the home version kind of reflected that change too, because they had like a different announcer. The music sounded different, and I just don't think it sounded as good.
But how much of a gap in time was there between like Street Fighter versions on the same console? I mean, was it every year?
Then it seemed like a long time.
Yeah,
but it was probably realistically like a year.
Mm-hmm.
But I couldn't for sure answer that question, because like I really just don't know. I'm gonna do Star Fox.
Do you have a story with Street Fighter 2 Turbo or
with Turbo? Yeah, well, I mean, my friend Tim, like I'd gotten my Super NES by that point, and we were like, oh, we're not gonna, like, why would we get another one? But we were really into our first Street Fighter game was Street Fighter 2 Championship Edition, which had the 4 playable bosses.
Mm-hmm.
So by the time that was released, we're like, all right, we're gonna end up upgrading our copies, and we did, and we played it just as much. We always kind of had a little rivalry. We both played as Ken, but I mean, then I would go on to get Super, and he didn't get Super.
Mm-hmm.
And Super Street Fighter 2 was a little disappointing to me at the time. So that was I played like Alpha in the arcade, but not really. I think I can play into the Space Armada in this.
Mm-hmm.
Star Fox.
All right. Castlevania, Super Castlevania 4. Do you got a story for that?
That was just another one that was my friend Tim's. We talked about in homeroom, like, because that year, like, we'd always talk about him getting, like, he got Zelda, Castlevania 4, and I think they might have been the only ones. So every day, like, we weren't like good enough friends to like hang out yet, and every day he'd like tell me about like each level, and I was like really determined to become like friends with him. So every day I'd sit down and like tell me about like how far did you get last night. I saw Smoke Monster asked if we have any arcade boards. I just have one. I just have Ninja Turtles, the first arcade game, which I will be streaming at some point. I really want to have Artemio on when we do that.
Yes. It's a long overdue to have
but
him on
I
stream.
really want to get more arcade boards.
For me, Castlevania 4 was like...
Oh, I got it. Anyways.
For a long time, it was like the one of the few games that I had trouble finding at FuncoLand. Like, I really wanted it, but they just never had it. And I remember I was going there. I went there. I was buying some other games, and I kind of saw on the back of the shelf, you know, Super Nintendo labels are really tiny, you know?
Right.
And I was really proud of myself for having never seen this game in person. I was really proud of myself for a diff I like seeing on the shelf like way back there. I was like, as I was getting ready to check out, I asked the employee, I said, "Is that Castlevania 4?" He said, "Yep." And I'm like, "I'm buying that too." And then the last one is Super Punch-Out. Have you ever even played it?
I have. I just haven't really played it. My friend Chris got it for Christmas, and he was really big into it. Speaking of my friend Chris, he was like the best man at my wedding. I was best man at his wedding this past summer. He posted a picture of himself on his Instagram of like, it was like him Christmas morning getting his Super Nintendo, and then there was a picture of him with his Super NES Classic, and he looks exactly the same. He doesn't really at all. He was like, you know, completely different.
If that picture got shared around, it had viral potential.
Yeah, I think a lot of people probably did stuff like that too.
Yeah, but it was a good picture. Yeah, Super Punch-Out. I don't really remember when I got it. You know, one friend of mine swore it was better than NES Punch-Out, and I was just like, nah.
Well, I think it's so much more similar to the arcade game, just visually.
And once I finally got really into the game, it is very good. You know, and like some of the added mechanics are nice, and it's very difficult. I mean, maybe not quite as difficult as the first, but it gets hard for sure. I mean, the last boss wasn't a whole lot easier than Tyson, I don't think. But it doesn't. I don't know what it is. It just doesn't. It just doesn't have the same charm as the first.
Right, and it's weird that it took them so long to make another one.
Yeah. Well, I do really like that the Wii one.
You ever do this? Or whoops, I hit the wrong button. Try to like go up to the upper corner, like when the boss explodes, then you hit brake to like kind of dodge out of the way.
Maybe.
So
yeah, that's all of the games and the stories we have with them, I guess.
I just want to play through to the Space Armada. Star Fox, that was the first video that was on our channel that was not a... Oh my gosh! Oh my gosh!
Yeah?
Today's October 1st.
Oh! We didn't even realize this. Today is...
It's 4 years to the day that we launched our first video.
Yeah!
How to Beat DuckTales Remaster launched...
October 1st, 2013. How did we miss that?
I have no idea. We should have been playing DuckTales.
Is that why we've had, like, you know, audience of around 300, sometimes 300 plus tonight? Is everyone coming here to celebrate our
maybe
the 4th birthday of My Life in Gaming?
Yeah. That's crazy. How did we miss that? For some reason, I thought that it was not on a Sunday this year. I think I specifically looked it up. But maybe I was...
And here it is, an hour before midnight. We only just realized.
I know.
Well, it's fitting that you're playing a machine that has Star Fox.
I always love that the people at the enemies will sometimes fly out of the cockpit on this part.
I never noticed.
Watch the stream, you'll see it.
Oh!
You've never seen that before?
Maybe, but I don't remember it, or I don't remember really thinking about it.
Yeah, so 4 years, man. That's so crazy to think of that it's been. So someone has been listing the show on IMDb,
Oh,
which I think is pretty darn cool. But one of my favorite parts is like to see, the show broken up into so-called seasons.
So I haven't looked at that closely. What are the seasons?
It's just like year by year.
Year by year. Does it reset every October 1st?
No, probably every January 1st.
Mm-hmm. That's funny. And it says it's like cast and crew is like Coury Carlson, Mark Dawson, and Game Dave.
Yeah.
I guess because he's made a few appearances.
Yeah, and Joe's on there too, Joe Redifer, but he has like the funniest IMDb picture.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, it's just like him. He's making a funny face. So yeah, wow, isn't that crazy to think about like that? We were only like working on the like how to beat DuckTales like within a week. I mean, that was the time we were like, we're gonna release videos every week.
Yeah, and like they're gonna be real short. That.
Yeah, I mean, at the time, I think during that first year, there's multiple times where we like wrote, shot, or well, we didn't have to shoot anything at the time. It was just all gameplay. But we pretty much, there was a couple instances where we did it like the day before.
Yeah,
like
probably.
we edited and like wrote the episode like for the next day.
I hate looking back at like my early voiced stuff because I've got like audio buzz and stuff in it, and I'm like, I don't know why I thought that was okay.
Insomniac Games released Ratchet and Clank Into the Nexus for $30. That's what I remember. And my voice, where I'm like, man, if we had realized that, we could have done like old commentary for like old episodes.
Tonight? Oh, that could have been fun. Or we could have played DuckTales Remastered. That would have been fun too.
Yeah. We blew it. We're gonna have to wait. What is it, like 7 years before we can do it again?
Yeah, I mean, I always like whenever something is 4 years old.
See, this is what you do right here. Watch what I'm doing.
Oh.
I wonder if I'm the only person that ever does that.
Whenever something has been around for 4 years, like it makes me think like how that is like someone's entire time in high school or entire time in college, and that seemed like so much time at the time. Like that was a lot of years,
Yeah.
So like imagine if someone was a freshman in high school when My Life in Gaming started, and they were like watching DuckTales Remastered.
Yeah.
Like if they're still around, I mean that's insane.
Yeah.
I mean that's like to us it seems like comparatively little time.
Yeah, I mean, my daughter was like a little bit over a year old. I only had one kid. I was still in New York City. I mean, like a lot has changed.
It's so crazy thing you were still in New York, because I had already moved into I moved into my house like just over a year before we started the show, and like I can't imagine doing what I've done here for the show. I can't imagine having done that in my apartment. Like it would have been very difficult.
Yeah, I mean, I can't even imagine doing it if I was still in New York, like what the show would even be like.
Yeah. So I mean, you were always in such a tight space, and
Well, maybe if we have a chance or something this week, we'll do like a bonus stream to kind of celebrate it. I feel bad that we totally missed it.
Oh well,
But
we're
4 years
celebrating
is
now.
not. Yeah, 4 years is not really as big of a milestone. I think as like 5 will be. We'll do something special for 5.
Yeah.
Speaking of stuff like that, I mean, we've been kind of discussing. I don't know if it's going to happen, but we had somebody ask us on Twitter if we were going to take part in an Extra Life. I think it's something like we were kind of talking about. Hopefully,
Yeah. You know,
It's
at
hard to
first
say.
when you brought it up, I was kind of like, I don't know about this year. But then you're like, we could just beat a bunch of games and you could work on your backlog. And then I was kind of like,
Yeah, I mean, like I don't think we would go to each other's house. Like it'd just be too difficult to schedule it.
no.
But we could do like a dual stream, like all day, where we try to like finish as many games unfinished that we have. And we can, we can definitely like have people join us on Skype throughout the day. I bet we could set up for like some guests to join us for a couple hours here and there.
Yeah, I mean, it could be pretty cool. My only concern is that it would, be amidst the time that
The PS2 episode.
Well, no, the PS2 episode better frickin' be done by then, because it's like early November, right?
It's like November 4th.
Yes. Or Extra Life, whatever it's called.
Right.
Yeah. Extra Life is probably like
you've taken part before, but you.
Yeah, well, it was when I mean, actually, I think I've done it a couple times, but like the first one I did was Final Fantasy VI.
Right.
I did, I'll play through and just like 23 hours. But that was like I'd probably seen like your name on the backloggery, but that was like I feel like one of the first times I was really even aware of you, because you had donated to, because I did this thing where people could donate to get the characters in the game named after them, and you donated for Locke.
Yeah, and you didn't use Locke until like the last battle. And I was like in the starting line off there.
Yeah, because you probably thought you were expendable.
Yeah. So this part right here, when you fly inside this big thing, like definitely blew my mind the first time I ever saw it. I mean, this level did. I mean, I'm a big fan of like space battles, and I always makes me think of like the space battle in Return of the Jedi. Blew my mind though, flying inside ships and flying out the back as they explode. But then seeing this, like, it's just so cool. Like the immense size of it. Like, I think people are like, oh, this game is like aged badly because it moves at a bad frame rate. I think I can't even tell. I just think it like is aged beautifully.
I mean, for me, like, it definitely took me a little while to warm up to it, since I didn't play it until some years after the fact. But once I like finally like sat down and played it real beyond just looking at as this interesting piece of history.
Right.
When I actually sat down to play it, I was like, this is actually really good. Like, yes, it's a low frame rate. Yes, the polygons look bad. But the level design and everything is like still really good.
Yeah, like this right here, like flying in this tunnel, like the size of it just like made this thing seem like so huge that it's like flying inside the Death Star.
Yeah.
One of my favorite levels in video game history right here, for sure.
This is a pretty good one, for sure.
There it is.
But yeah, I guess my biggest concern with Extra Life would be that it would interfere around the time that I'm going to be trying really hard to get the 4K TV episode done before Thanksgiving.
But really it's like a day. But I mean, there's a couple days to recover.
Really, it's like
is it on a Saturday? What day does it go from? Like, it like what day of the week is that?
I think it's a Saturday.
Yeah. Well, let us know if you'd like to see us do it. The more people we have saying they want us to do it, we'll do it.
then I'm like kind of incapacitated for the next day,
Yeah,
So it's really a loss of like 2+ days.
but I think it's okay.
Yeah, it should be okay. I mean, it's just that I'm gonna have to go into this 4K TV episode really quickly after PS2. I mean, it's not gonna be as bad, and it can't
Because
be
you want to have
because
it done before Black Friday, right?
that's the big thing. Because I feel like people are gonna be, you know, wanting to find out information about 4K TVs leading up to then. And and I'm going to put out the best information that I can on what I know and what I've discovered through trying to get this setup pretty streamlined. Um, I and you know I, I don't think it's going to be that bad in the grand scheme of things, really. I'm kind of thinking about like shooting it kind of a little loose, like I don't want to shoot like gimbal stuff for like looking at the screen because then it'll look kind of like the moire pattern would be kind of weird and stuff.
Right.
But like I'm thinking about doing like gimbal stuff, like showing like the switchers and wires and stuff.
I don't remember the game going this fast. Is this like going like it was like going really fast for a minute there?
It does look like it's going fast. Someone in the chat a bit ago said something to the effect of, is it just me or are the Super FX timings weird on this?
It was definitely moving too fast there for a minute there, I think.
When people hack this thing, it'll be interesting to see if
they
people
unlock.
can. Yeah,
I think this is moving too fast. It just like seems like significantly more challenging.
I mean, this level might be harder than the other levels. I mean, I definitely remember this being like where I felt like it ramped up in difficulty. You're taking the easy path, right?
Yeah.
I still have never done the hard path.
See right there, it seems like it's just moving fast. But maybe it's been too long. I'm just kind of curious to see if I can beat it, because I've beaten this game maybe more times than like almost any game that I own.
That's crazy.
I mean, there's a point, like I would come home after high school and like pick a game and play all the way through it. Like it was either usually like this or Mega Man X. Love to play all the way through the game.
That would that'd be pretty cool. Just do that all the time.
I know.
Did you do homework?
Yeah, I mean, I could, It's always so weird to me thinking of like kids in school when I see them getting out at like 3 o'clock. It's like, man, that must be like nice getting.
I know.
Being done at 3 o'clock, or not even 3 o'clock, like 2. Like when I was in high school, it was like 2:26 is when the day would end.
Yeah, that is so crazy.
It seems like so easy.
At the time, it seemed like all day, though.
Yeah, like I know it's not easy, but it really did seem like it lasted so much longer.
Yeah.
Whoa. There we go.
When I look back and think like, when I was that age and think about how many times that I beat certain games, like I don't really remember anything about like what was the thought process behind like I think I'm going to do another run of this game. Like I don't remember. Like now it feels like this big commitment, and it's like, it's like making a decision, Can I do this? Do I have time for this?
And usually the answer is like you don't have time for it.
I know. I can't. I'm so happy that I did that Final Fantasy 12 Zodiac Age run.
Yeah.
because that was just felt like a really special treat. Like I was really excited about the HD version.
Here we go. Look, you gotta
And
do it.
the thing
Ooh,
is,
ooh, ooh, ooh. And then get me.
I mean, the thing is, I mean, I get so excited for the HD ports, but then like so rarely actually like really play them, you know?
Right.
And I was like, it just felt right to play Final Fantasy 12. Like I really, I mean, it was actually the third time I'd played through the game, but I just really wanted to play it. It had been so long since I'd replayed an RPG.
Yeah.
Like the last time before that, I think was when I played Persona 4 Golden. You know, I'd played the PS2 version previously. But yeah, it was just a good feeling playing through that game. You know, just playing because I want to.
Yeah. Speaking of RPGs, well, I mean, not really an RPG, but man, oh man, is Ys 8 good. If I have been just like dying to play it more, like, and
Do you think you're getting pretty close to the end?
no. I think I still got about probably 20 more hours at least. But
Oh,
I've been doing a lot of extra stuff.
So you think it's a pretty long game?
There's another enemy just flew out of the cockpit. Watch for it on the stream if you can. Yeah, I mean it's pretty. Oh, it happens again. I'm gonna hit him. Splatters all over my windshield. No, I think it's got a ways left to go. As far as I've heard, it's around like definitely like the longest game in the series.
But it doesn't feel like it's got like the padding that E7 has.
No, that's what I think is so cool about it. Like it really doesn't at all. Like I don't want to spoil like anything about it.
Yeah,
for
please
you.
don't.
But you are like everything that happens like feels like significant, like it matters, I guess.
That's so cool because it doesn't feel like that in a lot of games. Like it feels like, you know, they want, you know, the developer thinks this is a big moment, but it doesn't feel like a big moment, you know?
Right. And I mean, it just seems like everything moves so quick, and you never feel like, oh, this like it doesn't really slow down.
That's awesome. I mean, that's what Ys is supposed to be.
Yeah, they've done a really great job of just like transferring that feeling into like a larger game.
That's awesome. You said if it wasn't for Breath of the Wild, it would be your favorite game.
Absolutely. It's just I had to, you know, like of all the games. I mean, I haven't played Mario yet, so but I'm just saying like Breath of the Wild was just like I don't think anything will have as like the kind of impact on me as that did, because it's just like not only was it just like a good game, but like the circumstances surrounding it like really made like
for those that don't know, we flew to LA like 3 days after Breath of the Wild came out to shoot the main interview for Night Trap with Jim Riley, and so we ended up having a lot of time in the hotel, and we were just sitting there playing Zelda on our Switches.
Yeah.
And
we tried to schedule like other things to do.
Did we find? Yeah, we thought we were going to shoot like some other stuff while we were out there, but it was like
because PAX was going on, right? PAX East.
Well, it was like
the worst weekend to go.
It was like the week between like GDC and PAX East, and it was like not a good time really to talk to game developers.
Yeah.
But we tried. You know, we got in contact with some people, but yeah, I mean that was such a cool circumstance. But yeah, it's awesome to hear how much you like Ys 8. I'm excited. But you know, I've had Ys 6 for, you know, a year and a half, 2 years now, probably, and but I haven't really played it. Like I made sure the disc worked, but I hadn't played it. And man, I popped that in to record some footage for our PS2 episode, and made me want to keep playing. So I think I want to. I think I want to. I mean, you keep telling me E6 is really short, so
It is.
I think I
It's
want
really
to.
short. And
I think I want to maybe do a quick play of that before I play 8.
yeah, I think it's worth it. I think it's worth doing it because it's just like it's so short
Yeah,
comparatively.
it seemed really good. Like I was impressed. But I will say the FMVs were awful, and the Japanese version has, I think, anime drawn FMVs. Is that right?
Yes.
Yeah. Like the FMVs were really bad, and the voice acting in them was really bad. Like I mean, it's kind of funny looking at it. You know, it does not offend me that they are bad, but they are bad.
Yeah, well, I mean, you should definitely put it like the PC mode or whatever.
Yeah, they're on the disc. Is that right? The anime scenes
Yeah,
are
yeah,
on the
yeah.
disc.
Yep.
Are they
You
in Japanese?
uh, well, the anime scenes there's no voiceover on them.
Oh, okay. Yeah, like the voices are so bad. Like it's just like this like guy just like busts in and is like, "Hey, Adol, you know, want to find something, whatever the thing is," and then like and Doki is just like sitting there, you know, chowing down, and he just raises his head and goes, "Huh?"
And they make him seem all dumb. I mean, like
Yeah,
that's kind of like that's part of his character, but
it's like they made him like super dumb.
yeah. So what I think is like well, I can't say I don't want to say anything about 8.
Yeah, don't say you know, I don't even really know what the gameplay even looks like.
Right. Then you should definitely like wait. Hopefully you can play it soon.
I would love to. Like pretty much like what my life is looking like for the foreseeable future is, you know, basically going to be a slave to the PS2 episode for, you know, I estimate roughly 3+ weeks. But like I need to make a hard goal of having it done
Yeah.
before Mario Odyssey because I might die if I don't. I
You
mean,
sound like me.
like, like I want to do nothing but like just play that game all day for like a week straight.
That's what you should do.
That is what I
Oh,
want to do. And then I'm going to go straight into this 4K TV episode. I wanted to, you know, I sure would have liked to have done like a lighter weight episode in between, but you know, it is what it is. Like I'm really committed to getting that 4K TV episode done.
Yeah.
And then I'll do something easier in December. And I, you know, it's something else I want to do in December is I kind of want to come up with like a plan for 2018 because I feel like
We gotta
I
get
feel like we
together.
kind of like flew by the seat of our pants a little too much this year. At first, it didn't feel like it because we really had a plan and Night Trap was happening. You know, we knew pretty early on that was happening, but it took us a longer time to get that episode out because of the development process and all that. But I think we got so hung up on releasing Night Trap that it just kind of slowed us down in other areas.
Yeah.
And I think that, you know, even though you were really mostly responsible for Night Trap, I feel like I kind of fell into a rut myself.
Yeah.
And I'm feeling kind of out of that rut. But I want to, you know, kind of go into 2018 with more, you know, more of a directed plan,
Right.
and I think that's going to help us, you know, stay, uh, you know, on task and mentally active.
Yeah.
You know,
I think we're gonna have a big year next year.
yeah,
Our
definitely.
5th year is gonna be the one.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, hopefully, I mean, it would be super cool to reach 100,000 subscribers.
I mean, we're definitely going to hit 100,000 next year.
It'd be nice to. I mean, we can't say
Oh,
definitely. but it'd be nice to.
It would be unlikely that we wouldn't hit 100,000 next year.
No.
I mean, when I was doing
His foot.
when I was, crunching numbers, earlier this year, it looked like the realistic goal for 2017 was 80,000. I think we're going to do.
Yeah.
I don't think that's going to be difficult to get done. But as for what's realistic for next year, who can say?
Yeah.
I was trying to figure out, could we hit 100,000 in 2017? It just didn't seem realistic unless something super crazy happened.
Yeah.
I mean, it's possible.
But
who knows? This
PS2 might be.
Episode could be nuts.
Yeah, you never know. Unlikely, but what we really need to do is just like release more stuff more often.
Yes.
And which is something that we've definitely like been consciously thinking about, and like
we've always said it, but it's kind of hard to. I mean, the thing is, we've been telling ourselves for years, not every episode has to be an epic. Like, it doesn't have to be this big deal thing. We don't have to. We don't have to feel like an idea is not big enough to do. Like, if you
right, or it's okay to do an episode covering one thing.
Right, but guess what? We keep telling ourselves that's okay, and we so rarely actually do that.
Right. I mean, like, I think it just needs to, like, it might happen in coming weeks, though.
Yeah.
I mean, I was thinking about, like, how it would be fun to do, like, some more topical things. Like, once the whole thing with the virtual console, not virtual console, but the Wii shop channel, like, someone's like, oh, you should do a video on, like, like underappreciated things or games that are going to be like missing. And we could definitely, I mean, I spent a long time, like I was primarily like virtual console. Yeah, I have a bunch.
You probably have a more well-rounded view of the Wii shop than I do, because you were pretty heavy into digital at that time.
Yeah, and I think, I think that'd be a fun thing to kind of reminisce about. And I think that's, I think that's something that we need. It's just like hard to let go to do that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
I guess.
I need to I need to read before you can't add points anymore. I need to rebuy some stuff that I might really want on the Wii itself.
Yeah.
Because I did the Wii U transfer, which I so regret.
Yeah, if you haven't done the Wii transfer, don't do it. Don't do it now.
Yeah, because virtual console stuff, like, most of it runs in 240p on the Wii. Which is awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely probably want to rebuy a few select things. I might consider doing the Wii RGB episode.
Yeah, before it's over.
Well, yeah, because people might see that and be like, oh, I really do want to buy some games on the Wii before I can't.
Yeah. This is mind-blowing right here, too. It's just a great shot right here. The shield is down. Going in.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
It holds up. So yeah, I think that's, like I would love to do, like just a matter of like committing to do like a shorter episode.
Yeah. I'm going to do I already kind of know what my December episode is going to be, and it's not going to be complicated at all.
Yeah. Do I know what it is?
Maybe. I don't think we've really talked about it much, but
I know people enjoy the longer episodes, but if it came down to it, I think it's okay if we did some shorter ones here and there.
What was your reaction to seeing Andros for the first time?
Just that he was like really huge, and I feel like he was part of the you know, like in magazines and stuff, it was kind of something that was already had been seen. It wasn't a surprise.
I mean, I knew what he looked like in the original Star Fox, which I thought, me having played 64 first, I thought looked really weird. But when I finally got to him in this game, like, I thought he looked kind of awesome
Yeah.
because he was much more animated than I had assumed seeing pictures, Like, I thought it was actually really impressive.
Oh, got it. Got it. Oh, there. It's close. I had to avoid it. I love the ending credits music to this game. I mean, just like the music in this game is so much better than 64. It's not even close.
I would agree with that. I mean, it took a while for that
It's
to
just so
sink
weird
in
they
for
like
me.
didn't use like any of the themes at all.
I like the main Star Fox theme quite a bit. And the Cornerian music is really good, but the original Cornerian music, I will concede, is better.
And Falco says, every time he talks, he says, critical wing damage. Oh, such a good game. But, like, I don't think I've ever beaten the hard route either. I may have come close.
Really?
I love the easy route like a ton. Like that's what I'd always play.
It's just a fun, breezy thing to do.
Yeah. And the the Space Armada.
Have you done all the routes in 64?
No, definitely not.
I had that game
completely 100% beaten.
Real 100%ed, yeah. I assume I still have my file. I did this dumb thing once where I like deleted a bunch of like complete saves on some of my games because I thought like because I was just bored and I was like, oh, that'll give me something to do. And guess what? I didn't really complete them, which I really regret.
Can you imagine that? Can you imagine feeling that way now?
No. I mean, my biggest regret is that I deleted that from Mario Kart, which I'm just like never going to get that 100% again because it's way too hard.
Is it really? Like, what is there to do?
Well, I mean, beating Special Cup on 150cc is like, I mean, in the other Mario Kart games, I mean, finishing Special Cup 150cc is like no big deal. But in the original Mario Kart, it's like crazy hard. Like, I think. I mean, at least back in the day, I thought it was really hard. And, and that was at the time when I knew how to play the game better than I do now.
Yeah.
So I don't foresee myself doing that again. Like, it was really hard to just even finish.
Yeah, if we did Extra Life, maybe I could spend 24 hours trying to beat story mode in F-Zero GX. It'd be nice to like finally beat that story mode.
That's rough.
Can you imagine doing that? That's got to be worse than like spending 28 hours or whatever you playing Sonic 06. What would you rather do again? If you had to choose between doing those things for 24 hours straight, what would you do?
I'd do F-Zero.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't do like hard mode or nothing, but
like, what if you had to do it in very hard?
I'd play Sonic 06.
Because that's how you unlock the extra characters. You got to beat them on very hard.
What extra characters?
There's like extra characters you get for beating the story levels on very hard.
I mean, extra. Oh, you're saying extra characters for story mode, or that you can use in the game?
That you can use in the game.
What? No.
Yeah, there's like Princia. There's a bunch of other characters.
What?
Yeah.
It's just like the 30 characters. It's the same 30 characters.
No. They're like the arcade characters.
What?
Uh-oh. I've ruined your day.
You're blowing my mind. I did not
look it
think
up.
There was. I did not think there was any other characters in GX. Are you kidding me?
Yeah, if you beat the story levels on very hard, there's like, I want to say there's like 8 characters maybe.
F-Zero GX characters. Here's the Giant Bomb article.
Love this music.
Okay, I'm seeing some weird characters that I don't know.
It's like Princia.
There's like Princia Ramode.
Yeah.
PJ.
Oh, it's like really slowing down right here. If you watch for a second, like the 3D-ness is like really slowing down, or it was for a minute there.
Oh, what the names were zooming in through?
Yeah. I don't think that it did this before. It seems like it's struggling. Like when they get real close in the center.
QQQ Rob? And you can play with these characters in just like the regular Grand Prix mode?
Yep.
This is blowing my
mind. They have like original. They even have their own theme songs. And
I cannot believe I didn't know this.
Yeah, I'm kind of surprised too.
I'm really surprised I never knew this. To unlock F-Zero AX racers, beat the following missions. It's a bunch.
Yeah. I'm very hard, right?
Yeah, they're all very hard. You can get one character, Magic Seagull, by clearing all chapters on hard mode. But then it looks like you get one character or maybe a pair of characters for beating, each level in very hard up through 9. I don't know if there's only 9 chapters.
I don't remember either. I feel like there's only 9, yeah.
I can't believe I never knew that. Like, this is...
Did you have it marked as complete?
I'm embarrassed. I didn't know that.
You didn't have it marked as complete, did you?
No.
Okay.
No. But I mean, I beat it on, I don't know, normal or easy. whatever the lowest is, which is still like insanely hard. I mean, you've never done any story mode difficulty.
Me?
Yeah.
No, I've done a bunch. I have, like the last one I did is the one where you have like the bomb on board or something like that.
Oh, but I mean, you never finished story mode.
Right, but I've done several of them on very hard to get the AX racers.
Oh, okay. But you don't have the game marked beat.
I don't think so. No.
I am very disappointed in myself for not having known that. I thought that was it. I thought that was it. Just the same 30 that are in F-Zero X on 64.
No, it's seriously like. I'm gonna save that right here at the end screen. Yeah, I mean that game has so much content in it. It's crazy.
It probably sounds a little silly, but I've always kind of wanted like an RPG in the F-Zero universe because
I could see that.
There's so many characters and stuff. Like I feel like it's kind of silly, but I like how I want to see them fleshed out.
Mm-hmm. All right, is that going to do it now that I've finished one game tonight?
Didn't you finish? Oh, you finished Spring Breeze.
That's true.
You got credits.
Yeah. Yep. All right. So if you'd like to see us do the Extra Life, let us know.
I assume there's no problem doing it on YouTube. I looked on the page and it said sponsored by Twitch, but I don't see there shouldn't be any reason you couldn't do it on YouTube.
Yeah, I don't think so. I mean, I could look it up. I'll do some research and do it tomorrow. I may as well. All right, everybody. We'll see you next week.
All right. Good night. Thanks for watching.
Good night.